Here we go. Welcome back. Sorry, guys. Came in hot there. Welcome back to Hero Labs Live. I'm your host, RT. Yeah, sorry, guys. No sound. I didn't activate the mic, but I'm back now. So welcome back to Hero Labs Live, guys. And I can see a few guys here in the chat. What's up, fellas? Yeah, no more audio issues today, I promise. I actually had that all set up and then just didn't cue the mic. Yeah, sorry. Came in hot. How are we for volume on the mic? I never really touch it, so it should be the same as always. But if it's a little loud, let me know. I'm all sensitive about the sound now. Yeah, I'm going to rewind 20 seconds. Basically, all you missed was me pointing out that you're here, and so am I. Proof that not everybody who's anybody is in Miami right now. Feeling a little bit of FOMO this week, admittedly. I would usually go. COVID had me thinking I wouldn't be able to, and then at the last minute I found out I probably could. Then I was like, should I? And then I was like, no. And then buddy yesterday was like, I'm going to go. I was like, fuck, I would have gone. So anyways, here we are. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be, great to meet a lot of people that are, you talk to on Twitter and all that. Went to Consensus in 2019. It was a blast. But there will be more. So if you're not going, if you're here with me, welcome. We are here together. And there's going to be some more conferences. Already setting up plans to travel and meet some of these people anyways. So we're going to make the best of it. And Bitcoin is coming into an interesting level here. So we're going to pull up the Bitcoin chart. I think there's a few alts that are waking up, possibly queuing what could be a nice counter trend rally back up into the short reload zone. And I'm not really interested in like betting the lows on all those alts like short term to try and say, hey, maybe we will get that rally. But if I see 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever rallying up there along with Bitcoin, then that gives me an edge. I can say, hey, look, this is what's happening. What else might move? And then catch the next one, sort of like an echo rally. It's a little bit of patience there, waiting for the optimal conditions, which right now we are starting to see. Again, low time frame scalp longs here is what I'm looking at for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Actually, quite the opposite. So let's get over to the charts here. I'm going to show you guys what I see today on Bitcoin. So as you know, from the zoom out, we've got this big range carved out, and it's really a potential range. Right now, it's a downtrend. It's just up, down, and the lower lows, the lower highs, we're just trending down. But we stopped that downtrend down here at weekly support and are now flagging in what I like to call fib pong, the most beautiful dance on the chart that I can find. You guys can kind of see where I'm at now. I'm into these last two. But as it started back here, this was an interesting dip to buy. Was long on that. If you follow me on Twitter at randomtask555, I don't put out like, here's a call, do this. But I like to share what I'm doing just so people can get a feel for applying this TA to actual trades. And I try to avoid things like, here's my entry, here's my stop loss, because that gives people the impression that you can make it by copy trading, which I really don't think you can. I think some people will, for sure, and they'll be really loud about it, and that will further the point. But as you guys know, I'm a big fan of hard work and doing it yourself and learning and teaching and all that stuff. So that was our first fib down into here. We went up into this short reload zone. We formed this downtrend line on that high, which now we are coming into again. So after this one, get rid of that. Nope. This one. Nope. What's the one I just drew? There it is. So after that, we get back up into that high, rolling over. Where are we going to go? Well, on the Memorial Day weekend, we came back down into the next reload zone, furthering this little consolidation. So we have that fib pong. So it's kind of like a long, short, long. Guess what? We're back up into the shorts. If you're playing this consolidation, if you're playing this range the way I do. Now, of course, we could break up from here. I think the first trade on these is usually the highest risk, as well as the last trade, because eventually, at the start, you're thinking, is this even going to consolidate here? And near the end, obviously, we're getting close to a breakout, so you can get roasted on each side. The second and third in these fib pongs are my favorite, where you say, okay, we did stop here, we're going to come up here, pretty decent probability that we're going to roll over there. And then, of course, once you're down here last weekend, I'm just like, I got along that, sell volume slowing down, all that stuff. I figured we could reverse here, and sure enough, we did. So We're back up into the local short reload zone. The key resistance that I'm watching got front run. That's that 40K level a lot of people are eyeing. We're at trendline resistance, and we're just consolidating right here on a lower time frame. If you zoom in, you will see price just kind of bouncing around this trend line, navigating it, if you will, or trying to resolve it. So for now, I see a little bit of bearish divergence as we came up in here making this final high, which makes sense. There's a lot of people that are going to be looking to short this. Not only is it the 786 of this little short reload zone, it's also trendline resistance. Let's see what kind of wave action we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're kind of on like the end of this local trend. So if I was a betting man, which I am, I'd say the most likely course of action over the weekend is a slowdown. And that could look like this. And the bullish case is right back up and out over possibly into Monday. Of course, we could roll down and take out, well, that kind of fits the triangle too. I don't really trade triangles, but it's here. So we're going to take a look at it. If we get really harsh this weekend, we could just drop right down and chill. I still think it's up from here, from this consolidation. But there's some Elliott wave traders out there who say we need one more, fifth wave down, and that would be like that final shakeout if that's the case, and then we just take off for a little bit. So I'm okay with that too. Right now, I've got some Bitcoin I picked up on the Memorial Day weekend. I've got some Ethereum, same thing. I did buy a little bit of Link this morning, to be completely honest. And part of that we'll look at in a sec. It wasn't like the most amazing entry, the most amazing opportunity, but I just thought this looks like it's going to go up for today. So I picked some up. It's just kind of flatlined. But my main positions and my main focus right now are Bitcoin through this consolidation. Obviously, that's going to be the quarterback for what comes next, and then Ethereum. So we'll look after all those things in just a minute. We'll look through the rest. RT, could you travel to U.S. with work? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Everybody I work with is there. So on the one side, I'd love to be there with them. On the other side, they're all there kind of partying, doing some networking stuff. So in a weird way, it's like a little bit of time off. The office is quiet. The Discord's quiet. Nobody on Teams that I work with wants phone calls through my fund and all that. So, it might be a nice few days to just chill. Having said that, all things considered, I'd much rather be down south. But, COVID just kind of threw me for a loop. So here we are. Bitcoin, kind of covered all that. Let's take a look at Ethereum USD. I don't know if this is the best chart for it. I probably have a slightly better one, to be honest. I don't know if I do. Let's look at it on the daily, ETH daily. I feel like I had an old chart, and it's still playing off of the trend line there. So let's take a look at that. I kind of enjoy that about TA. I don't always go back and update. Like this chart, I was kind of falling for a while, and then I just let it be. And then I come back to it, and I'm like, holy shit, look at this trend line. I had totally lost sight of that on the lower time frames. But it is acting as resistance right now, as is likely this fib extension, which is like a weird thing, right? It's usually like a price target I'll use, but they will often get, like any fib, will get some kind of price action because people trade them. So, or because they're freaky natural things of the universe. Can't hear you. Can hear you. Nice to see you, bro. All right. Jedi, thanks for that. Jedi, I think you're behind a little bit, but that's okay if you are. You'll be all caught up soon. Sounds like you're back at the start when there was no sound. So on Ethereum, a close above 2,900 is going to be really nice. If we can get, based on that trend line, not so much. It's not that critical. But if we can close above this level on Ethereum, I expect us to get right up into the short reload zone, which is going to get everybody nice and bullish, calling for new highs, which is very possible. But again, if you guys tuned in yesterday, you kind of heard my thesis, which, I think we're probably headed for something a little more boring and painful for a bit. And that's okay. That could take us through June. I hope we launch to new highs. It's like, hey, it's a parabolic bull market. And as soon as we get up anywhere in there, it's just going to be everyone's back in. All those stable coins and exchanges get buying up. But the way I trade, the way I see it, what I'm looking for is probably more of a consolidation pattern here. And in the end, I do foresee that taking off sort of bullish. So that's what I'm looking for. This has been a 2-week first dip. And instead of, and now this is an interesting point. This is what I used to do and is an error that I have come to fix. And that's where I get this huge dump. And even if I sold some, and I did take quite a bit of profit out of the market through that sort of big distribution-y top on Bitcoin. Never enough, right? You look back, you say, well, whatever you took out, you still could have taken out more because it turns out you were right. But at the time, you never know if you're going to be fully right. So I don't take it all out. So I took some. And then once this dump happens, it's very easy to get sucked into thinking like, oh no, this is bearish. And, for the first thing I learned was like, well, I never short in this kind of thing after a big dump. But if we get back up in here, I'll start looking at shorts. The mistake that I used to make was once we got down here, I get all smug and I start thinking, yeah, I know better. I'm not going to short down here. I'm going to wait for up here. And then it comes and I realize that the first trade I should have taken was longing up into that zone. And here's why. Aside from the fact that it could be a profitable trade, getting up there with a position that I bought down here gives me options. Because now, if I want to short against that, great. There's my setup. That's what I was waiting for. But if I'm wrong, and if we just take off, and that happens quite a lot in a bull market actually, then I'll be pretty pissed if I'm like buying back up here, buying back here, buying back up here, when I was sitting down here basically saying, I know this is probably going to go back up there, whether it's a bull or a bear, midterm, long term, whatever, right? So that's sort of the lesson that I learned over the last few. And I'm really happy with that this time because on things like Ethereum and Bitcoin, I did manage to pick up some bids in the low 2000s last weekend on that exact thinking. Sort of like, okay, we have the big dump down. We have a little reload zone of that move. And I want to get long, spot long, so that when I get up here, I'm not feeling like, oh no, what if it doesn't go back down? Like in that case, I'm actually happy I've already had a successful trade, and then I can think a little more objectively about what I see up there. Because what do I need to see up there? Well, we need to get up in here. We need to make a high. I'd like to see some bearish divergence if I'm going to be thinking short. And, bear with me here. I'm not saying like I want to see a bearish divergence, but if I'm going to think short up in this short reload zone, I need to see more than just the location. I need to see bearish divergence. It'd be nice if we get up there and there's just like no sign of the bulls and it's all just like one big sell, and you're thinking, holy shit, this is, those are the hints that I'll look for. Again, if I want to get short up there. I do think we're heading up there. It makes sense to me, especially on Ethereum. You look at this, if you look, let's see if we have the weekly up here. Let's get the weekly up here. I mean, the weekly looks good. If you're thinking about like, I want to be a bull in a bull market. Premium malware bytes. No thanks. Let's go see Ethereum. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to be a bull in a bull market, then the best time to become a bull is at a bullish throwback on a weekly. And that's exactly what we had over the last couple of days. Now, I love being a bull in a bull market, but I also like preserving capital. So when I start taking a little profit here and I see the dump, I tend to get super cautious. And for better or worse, there's always somebody saying, I bought the dip, I went all in, I made so much. I plan to do really well through this cycle and, in general. And I'm not going to do that by just constantly living in one market state. So I did take some off that I'm not putting back on here. And I've put it into stables over on Hxro, as I mentioned yesterday. But on the bright side of that, I have an interesting challenge going now. I've reset my Binance account and my FTX account to a certain balance. It's a nice round number, and I'm just going to trade from that and grow that and set up a trade journal for that. So it's kind of giving me a chance to like reset. I think things got crazy through here. I don't know how much of you guys were around for this, but I mean, when your account goes up a certain amount, and then some days, you have a red day, whatever, but like just the noise in my portfolio is bigger than my entire portfolio was last year. And that's not meant to be like a flex as much as the realization that I need to reset. I need to kind of like refocus, because it's very easy to then just get bitten and eaten up, like buying and selling little shitty trades here and there, because in the bull market, passed through here, we could do that, right? You just ape in, ape back out, make 20%, whatever. And I think trading right this minute through this range is going to get a little trickier. So I noticed myself getting a little complacent, if you will. And so I pushed some over to stables. I said, oh, hey, look, that's locked in. I made that this year. That's set, and I'm going to make 8 to 10% on it. And then I'm taking, that new trade account, and I'm going to start working on that. It's just a little project I've sort of transitioned into. So that's kind of exciting. I really do think that we're going to have a good year this year. I'm not for 1 second do I think this has to be the start of a bear market. It was a big nasty dump on Ethereum. It just looks bullish. On Bitcoin, it looks a little worse, which is kind of what you'd expect, below the 20-week moving average. And it's what I would expect given the strength we're seeing in DeFi, Ethereum, NFTs, like all the stuff that all these other platforms do. My thesis this whole way through is that Bitcoin dominance would drop fairly significantly throughout the year and really throughout the decade. I think it was a great coming out party, great proof of concept. I think it's the most liquid and the most perhaps attractive to larger funds who can't even get access to certain coins because there's just like, how do you put $100 million into something? But, DeFi is catching up. It's catching up fast. Developers moving at the speed of light right now with all these other projects. So yeah, I do expect Bitcoin dominance to drop. And that's kind of what we're seeing, obviously, over the last while. And I do think we'll consolidate here. That's at least the way I'm looking at it right now. And that would kind of mirror the noise that I'm expecting to see on those majors. But exactly how that will look, or if that's just going to be a really strong bounce and then it's just continued bull, which is secretly what I'm hoping for, because I love to trade altcoins. I much prefer a weak Bitcoin dominance. That makes the market a lot more fun to play in. And if Bitcoin can trend up while we get that, oh baby, that means going up in USD value, going up in Bitcoin value. Altcoins are going to be on a launch pad right now. So with that said, my strategy of kind of wait and see for a lot of altcoins may not be the most optimal. It's going to be the easiest to sleep at night. It's a little bit more conservative. But we may look back and just say, look, this reload zone, the second it hit, was the best entry you could get. And my thinking around, well, now that we're down here, we have to consolidate for a bit. That could be wrong. So what am I looking for to decide, okay, I was wrong. I'm going to be more aggressive now. And the reason I pulled up Algo is because that's exactly the chart and sort of what I'm looking for. Where you come in, you make a low, then you make a higher low, and then you get a little bit of show from the bulls. Nothing crazy yet. There's some better looking ones like KNC and all that. But you get that breakout. Now the last nights didn't close above. It did on a few, but on Algo it did not. Today we got the continuation. We're up to 114. So we are kind of coming into some bearish throwback areas. It's not out of the cat's not out of the bag yet, but that's the first step. And so once this move up finishes, wherever it does, and it might be, might be right up into that kind of thing, short reload zone, wherever that is, it's going to be hard to stare. Like if you're, married to a project and you're like, I need in on this, then you get that FOMO. So it's best, the way I trade, it's like I don't really care what asset I'm moving in, and I'm moving back out with more. And so with Algo, if wherever we end up here, I'll be looking for that reload zone back down, and that's where I'll be a lot more confident taking a long position after a bullish daily breakout like this. And that could take weeks, it could take days, it could happen this weekend, I don't know. But that's the kind of thing. So if you're all wondering at all, that's sort of where I change my bias. Right now, it's not even like I have a bearish bias, I just kind of have a wait and see bias. I don't see any reason, especially after a candle like this, to go smash the bid and get back in on Algo, that I was selling up in the mid $1. So that's kind of it. That's kind of my overall right now. Let's take a look at the chat. We're looking at a dead cat. Yeah, we're just looking at a range. It's consolidation. It's a range. It's going to be hard to trade. Last weekend, nobody wanted to long for the most part, right? You're just looking at it. You're like, this feels objectively bad. It looks like shit. It's boring. We had 9 straight red candles on the Bitcoin hourly. It wasn't great. And so if you just trade on feelings, which, let's be honest, most people that don't have trading plans, which could be some of you watching, which was me for a long time, you end up trading on feelings. That's kind of all you have left. You're like, oh, this looks bullish, I'll buy some. And that's why so many people, they laugh and they joke and they report buying tops and selling bottoms. It's because at that feeling, at that moment, bottoms come in because there's just this gross looking chart and this gross feeling and everyone's selling and all those people that don't have the trade plan are just like, oh, I'm going to go puke my bag. And they often just end with that. And then, traders step in, levels get bought up. And then by the time those people who puke their bag kind of randomly or without any real plan, when do they get bullish? They get bullish when it starts pushing through resistance, which is ironically right when people on Twitter and wherever else gets the loudest. So if you guys are in the Discord, you saw this chart last weekend. I've just been kind of tracking this squiggly. So far, it's actually looking pretty sharp. I gotta say, pat on the back for this squiggly. So now the question is like, do we break up through here right away? Or as we mentioned earlier, do we slide back down one last time and then go? Or do we break down entirely? I don't know. Not as likely. I think like less than 10% chance we just go and make new lows without breaking 40K. But it's possible. Like the weather, man. RT can be wrong. 10K to 100K and trying to show people what you're doing. Yeah, no, Jordan, I'm not a big fan of those. I think it's cool. And I know a lot of people do it because those trade challenges keep them accountable. So they say, I'm going to put 10K in this account. I'm going to show everyone my balance. Then I'm going to track all my P&Ls throughout the month. And then I'm going to show everyone my balance. They work for some people. And when you smash them, it's great and people appreciate it. And then you can be like, look at that. I did that and it was public. I'm famous. But a lot of people on those challenges, they wash out or they hide trades or they lose interest or they have a few bad trades and they don't want to share it. And like, I don't know. I have no interest in that. It's just a waste of time, in my opinion. Like for me, it's a lot of work on top of just actually trading. I'd rather focus on that. Appreciate that you're keeping the numbers to yourself. Too many people are trying to be flashy and show it. Yeah, I hear you. Concerned about stock market nuke and risk on assets like BTC getting roasted? Always. Yeah, when risk on assets take a plunge, Bitcoin is often not excluded from that. Yeah, let's take a look at OMG and Tomo in a little bit. It is boring as fuck right now, Spinoza. And so that's the other thing. And I've talked about it a few streams in a row now, but you don't have to trade this. And it's not very sexy. It doesn't make sexy TV, but you also can just not trade this, right? If you're a high time frame kind of dip buying mofo, then there was your dip. And we're still in it, technically. Anything under 40K should be considered a dip on the high time frame for Bitcoin. But if you want to be a trader and you want to take the big trend trades and then you also want to trade the ranges, I honestly, I make probably the most money trading these consolidations because you guys know, I'm obsessed with fibs and these things are basically just fib. So I enjoy the consolidation. Just as much as I enjoy the rip face bull market where anything you buy can just shoot up. But let's be honest, looking back to the last couple of months, my stress levels this week are way lower because nothing's really moving. You can fall asleep without feeling like you're going to miss it. And every day you're not looking at the leaderboard at some new 100x or whatever it is, 10x, 100% up. And you're like, damn, I was looking at that yesterday. Ooh, I could have made so much. So when volatility is high as a trader, as an analyst, and then also because I work in the space and do other things, I'm not always there trading. I get a lot of FOMO and it kind of fucks you up a little bit. And especially we basically just went since last March in a weird way, arguably July with DeFi summer. And since then it's just been work all day, trading all day, and constantly feeling like I was missing a trade. Even though that's a bullshit waste of time feeling, it does eat at you, right? So I'm actually kind of enjoying the last couple of weeks. Going to get a new set of golf clubs, which suddenly cost less than 1 Ethereum. And my buddy's like, oh, you made it big, hey? I was like, dude, it's not even 1 ETH for the nicest set of clubs you could find. So I'm going to get some new clubs, kind of recommit to golf. I never really committed to it. Played 5 times a year probably for about 10 years. Actually less. But it was fun. I went out last weekend. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to play some golf. So that's going to be my summer jam. And the longer we get these ranges, the more comfy I am because I can take risks up against range highs. I can pick up some in the fib, down there on the weekend and just kind of coast along with it and sort of buy, sell, and build a position until we get another clear trend. And don't be misled by being like, oh man, RT's got it all figured out. That sounds so easy. It's not. It's not easy, and it's not even it's easy today. I look at it, I'm like, oh, look at that. That Bitcoin I picked up there is great. It's doing well. But did I pick up as much as I could have? Did I hold all of it? No, I sold some the other day. It's still not a perfect science. The analysis I think is pretty bang on. How I act on it, the trading is what I want to optimize, and that's why I'm setting up sort of that new trade journal with the new accounts and all that stuff to kind of guess you could say, revisit my roots of like super disciplined, diligent tracking and all that stuff. So that's what my project is starting this coming week, actually. I'm selling some stocks to try and get in on that. Keep hearing DeFi summer. Yeah, I mean, DeFi summer last summer. This summer is yet to be determined. I think I'm on the fence. I think it's a bull market. And so we either have a slug summer, like sort of just consolidate, chop people up, clean up the charts a little bit, more consolidation, blah, 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 and then take off into Q3, Q4, whatever. Well, I guess Q3 is the summer, but you know what I mean, like later in the year. Or we just recover here miraculously in the next week or two, and it's, chill, and then just take off. And it's an absolute bull market, and it's parabolic, I hope it's that, and I think it could be that, but I'm leaning towards something a little more boring and catching people a little more off guard. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's one level at a time. And this is an area where I'm thinking long. And even if I'm, calling for more bear, I'm doing that from up here. So not there yet. And it's crazy. And watch, mark my words. If we get up into the short reload zone up here, everyone's calling for new highs. Everyone's, not everyone, but the crowd, the herd, will be screaming about new highs. You'll hear a lot of people bragging about the dips they bought, and that's great, and we might go. But my guess is, that's short reload zone, and that's going to be a little rollover spot. And wouldn't that be poetic, right? We get down in here, buying the dip or not buying the dip, and then getting up here, and how many people get sucked back in, and then we just trend back down for a few weeks. And then everyone's calling Uber bear, and then it's here. It's like, haha, Uber bull. And like, that's the kind of shit that'll drive people crazy. That's what I find markets like to do after big smackdowns in a bull trend. And so however that looks, however long that takes, I think it could be June, July, possibly August. And I do think that it's important that COVID is over or ending in a lot of places. I'm not going to say over. I'm thinking very like Western North American. It's sort of lightening up where I'm from. It's almost gone if you walk around in the States as far as like the practices and all that. A lot of parts of the world are still suffering from it, but I think this summer, the trend may be that people are going out, they're traveling, they're less focused on the market. And so the markets will lose some of their energy, and that may be a summer phenomenon. Let's not sleep on the fundamental fact that people are dying to get out of their house and stop looking at charts and trading. So that's something that's in the back of my mind, and it kind of fits with the TA that I'm seeing. And so that's why I'm playing it the way I am. And we'll see. If I'm desperate to trade, if I really want to get in there, I'm doing those ranges, those consolidation trades. But I'm not really in like load up all my bullets on altcoins just yet. Although I am picking up a few. So Jedi Hornet asks, what software I'm using to track? I am going to start using Edgewonk again. I was using it before. It was like a Java-based program you downloaded, and it was just on your one computer. So it wasn't as good as far as like if you took a trade on your phone or if you took a trade on the laptop on the weekend, you go away or something, and all your stuff was back home on that one PC. Now they've launched a Java or Edgewonk 3, which is like a web-based tracker. Now it's a little advanced. They have really good explanation videos. It used to be $200 lifetime, but now I think it's some kind of monthly. Obviously I'm not like affiliated with them, so this is not like a shill your bag or whatever, but I really like the tracker, and it's pretty advanced. So you can track, specific parts of trades and what you did in data. And then, you can crunch that data. So it'd be like, you can set up custom stats. Like I took this trade at 9 a.m. I took this trade at 2 a.m. I took this trade at 6 p.m. And then after 100 trades, you can filter by your 9 a.m. trades. And my guess when I made up that example was that you're a better trader at 9 a.m. on a weekday than perhaps 2 a.m. on a Saturday. But then you get to see that data, and then you get to say, okay, every time I trade at 2 a.m., my success, percentage goes down 40%. So what do? Well, after 6 months of that data, you could be like, I'm going to cut out my 2 a.m. trading. And then over 6 months, you may see an improvement. So it's all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah, $170 annually. I mean, God, if you're successful, or if this thing feeds into success, what's $200 a year? Like, I find I'm pretty willing to pay for some products like this, because when you're talking about trading, you're talking about potentially thousands of dollars, obviously, in some cases per trade. I mean, it's a wash if you find a tool that helps you improve that, whether it's like a special indicator or something. You got to find your edge. And I like edge wonk. There, I said it. All right, let's take a look at some charts here. Solana and Cell. Yeah, so this is a time when I am making a list. Through the bull, often like Matic, still kicking myself over Matic. Again, one of my best trades of the year as far as like pure profit, but misplayed and didn't fit my thesis. My thesis was that it would be extremely powerful and huge, and people would be saying all the things they're saying now at 250. I'm talking about it going to $5. So for this next wave that I'm thinking is coming, one of the things I'm doing is kind of really picking the coins that I think have the strongest possible outcomes. And that could be in terms of pure percentage upside, or it could be in terms of just like, it's going to do well. Sort of like, I don't think DOT is going to provide the best risk or the best percentage gain in the market. I'm sure some shitcoin somewhere is going to 100x, 1000x before DOT even 10x's. But I'll tell you what, I'll bet you $1,000 DOT's going to be around in 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, right? So chances of it disappearing are way down. And that's valuable too. Then you can take some size and not really worry about it. Buying on dips. Things like Solana. I mean, are you telling me Solana is never going to hit $100? I don't know. I doubt it. Like, I doubt it won't. So is it, but is it going to be like my best X potential in the market? No, almost certainly not. That's where people get into, I think, trouble down in small caps. When you get into small caps and it's like, man, but if this becomes the next big thing, it's a 5 mil cap. If it goes to $1 billion, that's 200x or whatever that is. And you can get into trouble with that because, yeah, that could happen, but that project could also just disappear. It's, maybe it's a one cycle coin. Maybe it never quite gets its feet. So I'm trying to balance that. So Solana is definitely on my list. It's also showing a really nice little breakout. I guess you can see here I was drawing something on there. Looks like we've broken that level today. So any kind of retest of this level, I'm interested. And any kind of dip into, even down into here, reload zone. And this is what I really want to see if I'm going to get long on some of these assets, is like, yeah, sometimes it's a quick test and go. Usually on a short squeeze it is, because they're pretty aggressive. They are a faction, or they're a function of FOMO, sort of re-entering poor sell, sold here. I regret it, so I just market buy back in. So these short squeezes often do come hot and heavy and drive you nuts if you're not long and you want to be. But what I really want to see if I'm going to get long on some of these things for the bigger move is like a proper pullback after the breakout. So this might be the breakout. It could last days. And then it's, what is it, reload zone, or is it pump chaser zone? We'll see. So Solana, but again, objectively, TA-wise, we're going to be coming into some big resistance here pretty soon. Got the ton of volume traded up here around $44. Should act as resistance. Got obviously all these lows. So anyone who's been underwater who does not want a piece of this thing, wants their money back, get me out of here, I want a refund. Well, they're going to be waiting on that refund right up here. That's why it should act as resistance. So we'll see how that plays out here in the next little bit. Tracking trades, which RT mentions he does. Yeah, tracking trades. $170 per year. Yep, man, DeFi recently passed BSC users. Nice. Have you looked in Omni? Now that's the thing, Spinoza. I need to get on Matic. Like I need to, I trade the coin and I'm bullish on Quick. Let's go take a look at Quick. Actually, I haven't even looked at it. Sorry, I don't have my template up here, so. I think Quick should do well. There's a lot of farming going on for Quick, so that's probably, I'd be curious to know when those dates are, when that's going to end, because we're sitting on what looks like a launch pad for this thing, where it's just kind of like made new highs on big volume, and now it's just like there's like an infinite bid here for now. And I say infinite just, I say that jokingly, because there's never an infinite bid, and eventually the bidding here will run out if it does, but right now, it just looks like anyone, it looks like there's a pretty decent sized number of buyers that are just willing to buy anything at $650. And then you can stake that and you can earn more Quick. And that's probably why we're also seeing a lot of sell pressure here. not a lot of energy in the upside. So let's give this some time. I think consolidating through here, the next leg on this looks like it'll probably be up. And it's just a matter of patience and waiting. So Quick is going to be one of the first bags I get back. In fact, I don't even know if I'll wait that long, because after talking about it here, I realize I'm pretty friggin' confident that that thing's going to see a higher price, especially with what you just mentioned about Matic and DeFi, because I agree it's going well. INJ is not on my list. It's not because I know everything about it and decided not to put it there. I just don't know a whole bunch about it. Some kind of connection with Binance. But let's go back to the first request. That was OMG. Had an old OMG chart up here. Let's go see where we were. See, now this is cool. Last time I remember looking at OMG with you guys on stream, we were down here at the lows, and I was just saying, probably an interesting place to long. Not the first place I'm going to look, because everything else was flying at the time. This is back in March. But it ended up going right up to resistance, like picture perfect, take profit, TA, and then right back down to support. There's your range. So if anyone's trading this, it's very attractive to get anything, like you buy it on the lows and then it takes off and you just think, oh man, we're going to the moon. And if you're going to play that way, then you have to be willing to hit resistances and lose a lot of that upside in the shorter term and say, well, basically back down to my entry now, but like I still got a good entry. I'm still going to the moon. And that is unfortunately one of the mistakes that a lot of sort of half-ass traders make. And I say that lightheartedly. I do this myself. If I don't fully plan a trade, I'm long. I don't take profit. I didn't have it set up perhaps. I just thought, oh, I'm long because we're in a bull. And then you notice it pulling back. And so you're like, well, I'm going to still get something. So you sell. And that is obviously a much less attractive place to be selling. So planning to trade, following your trade plan, always important. That's why we talk about it ad nauseum every day. OMG is just stuck in the middle of the range for now. That's sort of the way I see it. Got a pretty nice bounce up off here. I don't know that it's in any kind of particular rush to buy, rush to sell zone for me. Looks like it already had its bearish throwback up against these lows. So, next time I would get interested in it is probably down, at least at the 618. I think it can hit 1537. And then as we get in here, the perfect setup, if I want to be long on something like this, is it comes in, goes lower, and as it makes these final lows, the MACD is flipped bullish. The RSI is already making higher lows. That's your bullish divergence. As it slides into the level, and then the last stamp of approval is to see the W. And you want to get ideally a higher low on the right shoulder of that. And then once this breaks, get some little buy volume coming in. That's like the perfect setup. And then it's just buy the next dip. So that's what I see on a lot of these things. Potentially, that's sort of at least what I'm waiting for. And you're going to hear that from me a lot today and this month. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm wrong and it's like, yeah, we just take off. But if we don't, and if we see a lot of this stuff, it's just kind of rinse repeat. And that's what I love about these fibs and, fibs, divergence, market structure, volume, go. Like when you have those four ingredients to a trade, it's very boring. And it's a good kind of boring. It's like, well, I'm just going to wait for that thing that I wait for. Tomo chain looks a little more ready. All things being equal, let's zoom out. So it's kind of like it's a lazy chart. Like this is a weekly. It's really, even through the bull in the last little bit versus Bitcoin, it didn't do all that well. I know there's a lot of Tomo bulls out there. I don't really know what it does. It's a platform. Pretty sure. But I think probably looking at weekly support is not a bad idea. So this definitely looks more ready to me. This is the kind of thing where you're like, hey, we're in a bull market. And then presumably later this year, we see something like whatever we see out of here. And then it's just like, whoa. And then you just kind of like go back and you sit there and you go, what the hell was I doing back here? Why was I not being more aggressive? Why did I not see this coming? Why did I not get more bullish back then? And that's kind of my vibe with this chart. We've already seen it kind of up into the sort of range highs, and it's just loving this like lows here. So risking against these lows for like a midterm swing trade, probably going to age pretty well. I mean, let's rephrase that. Like on this asset right here, right now, age pretty well. I don't have a fucking clue. Trading's not about knowing what's going to happen on this one right here. But as a rule, if I see a chart like this, and I have this weekly set of lows here, and I take longs on them as a routine or a habit or a strategy, and obviously risking to these lows is pretty intense. It's probably like 40%. But if I make a habit of buying during what is still considered extreme fear on the market, and, you know, up against these lows, and then selling months from now when everyone's like, Tomo to the moon, then I'm probably going to do pretty well with myself. So I guess that's what I meant. Like that will age well. I don't know about buying Tomo right today for 6 months will age well, but probability to me is pretty high. Over time, with a number of assets. Disclosure. Let's go look at Cell. This is like a network, isn't it? Celsius network, yeah. No, Seller network? Seller, no. Cello? I feel like you meant cello. Nope, I lied. I think you meant Cell. I don't even know if it's on Binance. Because there is a Cell. Is it this one? It's got 1.7 million volume. It's probably this one. Wow. And then you go to Uniswap, and there's just these coins that never stop the bull market. Hxro. And they just fly. And they're just like making new all-time highs. They have no real, correlation with the rest of the market. So I'd be curious to know what the heck is going on with Cell right now. Let me see if I can find CoinGecko. And let's go look at Cell. Maybe you were talking about Celsius Network. Damn it. Is that what I was just looking at? Yeah, it was. Okay. No, damn it. Take that back. 3.3 billion. Yeah, and that makes sense, right? And this is actually a really good thing to discuss. You know, looking for coins that don't respond the same way to market dynamics. And I'll give you an example of that. What's one coin that like everybody likes? I don't know. I'm just going to pick on Lena. I don't know anything about this coin. Oh, that's not the one. Luna? We were looking at it yesterday. Yeah, so like this is going up. It's going up because of speculation. And one of the hints of that is like what happens when things go down. Rug pull. You know, not an actual rug pull, but it just says like, oh, fuck. There actually wasn't people that needed that coin. They just were holding it because it was going to go up. So as soon as it stopped going up, it started going down really hard. Not as organic, right? This does not look like, hey, look at this organic demand for the token. My favorite example of this was basically the first one, along with maybe Ethereum, was BNB. And, you know, BNB, the exchange token model, they basically created it. And it was this idea that, like, I need that token to get fees reduced. And since I'm a trader, I am, you know, I'm going to get my reduced fees. Like, who's going to trade on Binance and not take the lower fee over time? That's like free money. And so it created this immense demand for their token. And then you add in token burns, and eventually this year BNB is like, you know, smart chain. There's real demand for this token. You know, I need BNB if I want to make money trading on Binance Smart Chain. I need this coin if I want to save on fees. So some of this is probably speculation. I'm sure there's a more fair value, you know, market amount, like, you know, a little lower, probably not down all the way here. But my point is, like, when the market drops, look for those coins that just, the sellers aren't there. They're like, oh, price go down? Don't care. I need this coin. And FTT, BNB, I think OKB was rallying again the other day. It's another one to keep an eye on if you like exchange tokens. Yeah, it took off the other day, like lower time frames on the 4 hour. But OKB, like OKX, has their own smart chain that they're creating as well. As does Huobi, I think, which is Huobi token. So a couple exchange tokens to keep an eye on. All that to say that I think Cell, which I want to go find now, Celsius token. Yeah, it's weird that it's not on Binance, or at least I didn't see it there. But it's flying today, man. I think it just made new all-time highs. And that makes sense. You know, borrow, lend, they're probably popping off right now because a lot of people, like myself, are thinking, I'd rather a more stable yield than having all of that capital still in the market through some uncertainty, through some downside volatility, whatever. maybe starting to think, hey, even if I pull out 1/3, make it stable, make it take a yield, I can still then go and trade, that other 2/3 and just do it a lot more confidently and comfortably, because if it gets washed, it's like, hey, well, I'll still save that money, right? So that's what I do basically. And I've told you guys this before. People say, well, when do I know when to take profit? Take profit when the swings in the market affect you either emotionally or whatever, or like your decision making. Like if you start trading like shit because you're like, you're in, you're out, you're not sure, it's probably because you're overexposed, right? Like if you exit a position early that was a really good long, but it dipped once and you're just like, I'm out of here. That's probably because it was oversized. And break 777 on TradingView. If you can't see over on TradingView, try to refresh. If it doesn't work, you can join us over here on YouTube, and I'll drop you the link right there. And give us a sub if you come over, because we love subs. We just crossed 5K, and now it's exciting. I'm like gamified the subs. Point is, if I find myself trading like shit, or if I find myself losing sleep, or if I find myself feeling stressed, then I know that my account, is oversized, overexposed, whatever. And in this case, it had grown obviously through the last little while, and I hadn't really taken any profit since February. Don't tell me that's poor timing. February was a terrible time to take some out, but it worked, right? Because after I took that money out in February, I was able to be more apey and more on side with the market and not really worry about it at all. And that's sort of what I did through this downswing as well. I did not buy back all of what I took out. I moved a little over, yada, yada, yada. I said that already, but point is, a lot of people are probably doing that, and a lot of people are looking for things like Celsius to park their money in. So it kind of makes sense to me that it's performing quite well through this. I'm curious if Nexo is going to follow suit. I hold a little bit of Nexo just because that's where my stables are, and if you hold some Nexo in that group of stables, you get a slightly higher yield, and I'm kind of bullish on the platform and the coin, so I figured I'd hold some. I have friends that are like, fuck that extra 2%. I don't care, because if you add that Nexo to your portfolio, it increases the volatility. So you could spend an entire year making 10%, but that Nexo may drop in a certain amount that like negates those gains. Whereas like if you just kept the Nexo out and went pure stablecoin, that 8% you would have made, slightly less, actually ends up being more. I don't know. It's a bit of a mind fuck. I'm bullish on Nexo. So I have some in there, and I'm going for I think I'm in silver right now, or gold. Not quite platinum, but yeah, well. Don't want to go full in. Link, let's look at Link. Pick some up today. It was a bit of a FOMO buy, I'll be honest. It was like, oh, interesting. Apparently I was doing a GAN on here. So yeah, if you're looking at this GAN, it's actually kind of like a resistance-y area, but not necessarily. Let's go look at it where I was actually trading it. I don't know where I charted it. Might have been directly on the Binance app. I literally So I mean, this looks this looks pretty strong. All things considered, higher low, higher low, higher low, like it's desperately pressing up into this level. And so, I don't love it. I much prefer, as you guys know, like my little fib entry, which got front run here, which is decidedly kind of bullish. And if we come down from there, over the next week into this little breakout level, retesting it, getting in at 26, 25, much more attractive to me. So I'm not super comfortable in my Link position, but it's not huge and it's just spot. And, I saw a lot of things popping off on the 4 hours this morning, and Link was just pushing up, but hadn't really popped yet. So I thought, coming through this big node here into this possible gap up above. So if we do gap up, I think, over the next weekend or week, we could even see, again, always thinking about this on the whole market, this big short reload zone. And that's interestingly a nice little fib level matching resistance here. So that's sort of the trade I have on Link, probably risking to these lows, which I don't love, because on another universe, like that's my entry. But I saw this breakout and then retested that level and then slowly moving up. So it's almost more of a trend trade. I don't know. not my best. And like I said, I'm resetting next week because like that's a really good example we just walked through of me not exactly trading like airtight like I like to and I should. But I did pick up some link today. And I guess I justified it by sizing down and not really caring. It's like, oh, I'm going to make a few $100 here. EWT. That's one to look at. I keep hearing about it. Like in stream, a lot of people talking about it. You know, there's some relation to Elon apparently. He's the only guy I haven't heard talk about it though. So full disclosure, I don't know about that. But let's take a look here. Yeah, it's boring. It's not that exciting. It's one of the reasons I kind of got out of it. You know, I may get back in, but I bought the retest of this trend line and then I sold somewhere like close to break even and I just moved my money off KuCoin. And then I saw on stream a few weeks ago, somebody mentioned that it had popped off and I was like, maybe I'll go buy that dip. And then everything just kind of fell to shit in the market and I just didn't go back and look at it. But as you can see, it's just chilling here. It hasn't gone anywhere, which in some cases is good news if everything's going down. But as far as like moving crypto onto KuCoin where I don't usually store much and then sitting in that position, I mean, I think now I can safely say I need it to break out of this range. If not for just like the opportunity cost of holding it, because it's been ranging since friggin' February. So it totally, like versus Bitcoin. So I guess it probably went up versus USD because Bitcoin went up and this has just been flat versus Bitcoin. But that's, you know, that's sort of my thinking. It's not super liquid either. Yeah, it did get that rally right along with Bitcoin. In fact, it looks so much like the Bitcoin chart, doesn't it? Because it was basically flat versus Bitcoin. So you bought Energy Web token, you basically just bought a clone of Bitcoin. That's it. We're down in the reload zone. So versus USD, it's actually, you know, it's in a nice little spot. It's in the best spot it's been in a long time, purely from a location standpoint. Big, gross, loose support level. Was support, was resistance. This looks legit, and we just bounced off it. So yeah, let's give it some time. Because like you looked at Algo, and this is what I was talking about at the start of the show. You know, looking at Algo, you saw this, and then Algo is now broken up. So coins are starting to do that. And in a market where some coins do, you can expect that other coins will, because we're humans and we say, oh, that one popped. Like I am right now, we're looking for the next one, right? And so the next one will pop and the next one will pop. So the more of those I see doing what Algo did and what Solana is doing today, you know, then we can start to just pick these up and say, are they next? They probably are. EWT is on a whole other level though than Algo, Solana. And you're going to see, usually you see the bigger ones move first because that's where the most eyes are. That's where the most confidence is, the most backing, whatever. And it's like that same kind of liquidity trickle down, right? You get your Ethereums, then you get your blue chip. I feel like I'm going to write it like it's a whiteboard, but yeah, you know what I mean? So EWT is not my first bet, but this is definitely an area where I'd be thinking about long if I was a bull on it. AVAX. That's one that the last time I missed it, I said, next time I won't. So I should probably do a little bit of DCA here. I don't own any. You know, would it kill me to buy $500 worth and just say, I own some AVAX? Keep it off the books, not think about it. Because through this, I did a lot of, not a lot, but I did a little bit of looking into it. And I was like, holy shit, that looks really, you know, it's a legit platform. It looks good. But we just broke down from this enormous sort of support level. And that should act as resistance at least one time. And so I don't think I'm in a big rush on this one. Like I said, there's probably a pretty good reason for me to just go and pick a little up here and not really think stop loss, take profit, and think more like double over time. So I might actually do that this weekend because AVAX is definitely on my short list. It's like if we go into another rip-roaring bull, when we do, I should say, because I'm pretty sure we will. Sure enough to say when. AVAX is one that it's like if I miss it, I'll be like, Riley, you missed that one again. You know what this chart reminds me of, which I should point out, is HBAR. And the reason I'm going to mention that is because HBAR took a particularly long time to go into its next rally. And one of the reasons is because of this. This is super unhealthy. This is not, like, this takes forever to clean up. You know, when you have a nice, chill, slow uptrend, like arguably I was going to say Matic was even healthier, but if you look in the weekly, Matic's not that healthy either. But like, this is disgusting. I mean, that's so ridiculous. And so what happens is there's just so many people stuck underwater right now that there's going to be people trying to get out every time they get some amount of their money back. And so what you end up with is this, like, whatever it's going to be, but it just takes fucking forever. And I'll show you a really nice example of that because I traded this one. Wow. Oh, is that it? Holy crap. HBAR's had a great year. I even traded some of it, but I didn't realize it was that. I was picturing this. Let's go back to the HBAR that I remember when this was the all-time high. And that was my best trade to start off last year, January 2020. I picked up some down here on these like www.breakout.com, and it just went nuts. They announced something with Google, and I was like, oh my God, like starting off the year on a good foot. And then it just went into this like exactly what I think we're going to see on AVAX. And watch how this progressed. Let's even take it down one step. Yeah, why not? Oh, that's way too slow. But you can see like this took a long time to clean up. And these are days, right? And so it was like, oh, fake out, breakout. No, sellers are baked in. Sellers are baked in. And here we are, like 3 months later, hasn't really moved. It was a terrible opportunity cost trade last year. And even after it broke upwards like that, I think I actually traded this breakout, one of these anyways, and then it just dropped back down to range lows. And so what you end up with, as I'm saying with AVAX, with this vertical level, you have a lot of cleanup to do. So I would expect something like that on AVAX. So that's kind of why I haven't rushed in yet. But then once it went, oh, bubby. And that's actually the trade from earlier this year as well. This has been a really nice chart to trade if you can get the patience to wait. I don't know if I caught this one on Twitter or not, but I definitely traded it because when you see this kind of breakout in volume, especially a guy like me who had been watching HBAR for a while, and then it just, these are days, right? So when I caught that breakout and I saw that volume, I was like, oh my God, here we go, next leg. And so on this dip, which, spent hours down there, it was like, that's where I got to take risk in the market. That's like 12 hours sitting at the sweet spot. So that was a nice trade earlier this year. Last year. I lie. It was last year. But since then, I am well out of HBAR, despite being super bullish on it. So we'll see how that ages. It took off this dip. I think I probably took a lot of the profit through here. And then I don't know if it got higher yet. I feel like it did one more leg up. Let's see. Get your popcorn. I honestly forget. Oh, yeah, it did. It went way higher. Shit. Yeah, it did. I think it's up. Oh, spoiler alert. Damn it. Yeah. So I got a nice trade out of it, but, and that's part of like selling part, but not all of your position, because look at this thing through earlier this year. Absolute sicko. I think I was also trading it on the Bitcoin chart, to be honest. And then I tried to do some perps through here, but got bored and chopped up. So let's see. Let's see what HBAR ends up doing. I think we started off talking about AVAX, but here we are talking about HBAR. If you guys haven't used the replay on TradingView, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. You can take a chart you've never seen before, and obviously, when you first load it, you'll see it, but click the replay. Jesus, this is taking longer than I thought. Get on with it, kid. Click the replay and then just like go way back to some part of the chart. Put it on like a slow motion mode. You can slow it right down. And so like, every 3 seconds, it'll show you a candle. And then do your TA as it's happening. And if you can get someone else to rewind it first, so you actually don't know what's coming, that can be a fun way to sort of forward test your trading ideas. And just, what does the chart look like right here? Pause, write down your thoughts, do a little TA, forecast with your best tools, and then push play and then let it run and see. And, I used to do a lot more of that. Now there's so many charts, I just trade them live, but don't sleep on the replay, guys. It's a really cool tool. And that's one way to use it. Thoughts on ZRX? That's my most of my thought. What time is it? Oh crap, we're at the top of the hour, guys. I do actually have to run on time today, or at least within 5 minutes. I always say that. But it's my mom's birthday, actually. Big 70th. So I need to get out. I'm on the barbecue. I got to get the steaks still. I got to pick them up. It's a very busy little butcher shop. So I actually have real life things to do today. But wow, you know, ZRX actually looks pretty good here. I was very uninspired with this dump. You know, a lot of coins recovered further and faster, and I thought, oh, ZRX looks tired. But let's zoom in here. Ooh. Okay, we might have just got a nice close the other day, and this is like the signal that we saw on ZRX. Yeah, I was charting it yesterday. So the signal we saw in KNC, this is where we'll end today, guys. Not like we're ending yet, but this is probably my final thought. KNC closed above this midpoint on its chart. You know, they're all painting very similar charts. When you get uncertainty in the market and consolidation, algos and whales tend to run things, and so you get a lot of like mirror images on a lot of charts until things start to break free and be their own thing again. And on this one, it didn't quite get the close. But watch what happened on KNC when it did. And I think actually ZRX looks like it could still run anyways, because look what happened. As soon as it got the close above, that was the signal to say, hey, we're going higher. That's a higher high, right? We're in a hungry market. Like, it's exhausted on the sell side. There's everyone just looking for any reason to buy the dip now. And there's a ton of FOMO baked into this short squeeze, if that's what it's going to be. Like we said, they come in hot and heavy because there's just a lot of capital sitting out right now. And as soon as there's something that's like, buy, 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 buy. So you get this like strong FOMO candle back in. So yesterday was great volume. You know, I was saying to Rob on stream, I figured we're probably at the top of the move for that first impulse up because of this resistance. There's going to be people wanting to exit. So I'm going to be looking at this one on the way back down. And ZRX might go next. You know, I think all these coins probably have to get into a bearish retest. At this point, a few of them have. Why not the others, right? And the people who traded those other ones, they're going to look for the next one. So, yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd say ZRX is about to go up 10 to 15% in the next couple of days. So good eye. And Algo, similar kind of view right here. Also didn't get the close, but look at it. Still ended up making the move up. It's into that sort of bearish throwback zone. You know, at the most, I could see it getting up into here, short term. So there's a lot of this, guys. So go find these on USDT charts if you're going to be trading this weekend. You know, finding some of these W's. If it gets the confirmation, that's a really strong signal for a quick and dirty scalp. Although good luck measuring your risk to the downside. It's like, where do you pick, right? You have to find something on like a 15-minute chart, little pivot low. But as far as like, you know, this is not the highest R trading for me, where it's like you're buying kind of at the breakout and you're just selling right up here. It's not really how I like to trade, but if I was bored one day and taking small size and feeling like pretty confident because this happened on 8 charts, then the 9th chart comes along and the same thing, like, okay, maybe I do. But for now, it's not going to be the setup I'm looking at. But let's see if that happens. You know, I hope it does. And that's the first step to cleaning up these charts, right? There's the dump, then you got to have the short squeeze up, and then the shakeout back down. And when everybody gets completely sick of this market and is convinced that they don't have a clue what's coming next, and they're bored and they're tired and they've just aped into DeFi and decided I'm just going to park into this, you know, farming, whatever. When the market puts you to sleep, that's when you got to pay closest attention. So I don't think we're quite asleep yet, but we're certainly bored. And that may continue for a few weeks. If you're in Miami watching this, get outside, enjoy the weather. If you're not, that's okay. There's going to be other conferences in the future if that's your jam. I hope to be at the next one, wherever it is. I basically decided I will be there. So, you know, hopefully we can meet again in the future sometime for those of you who are thinking about going. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I'll be sure to pass those on to my mother. Somebody is requesting vet. Okay, we're going to flip back to vet. I'll tell you, the one thing I like about producing my own stream is I can flip back when I want. Vet is doing the exact same thing, guys. So you could take a look at that. And if this daily is closing in 4 hours and it closes bullish above this midpoint, yeah, Hell yeah, I think there's a little squeeze up there. But again, the way I trade these, it's like buy this higher low, buy this dip. And sometimes pigeonholing myself in that thinking makes it so like if I didn't buy there and I didn't buy there, even though this looks like it's going to go up at least 10%, I can't buy there. And how many trades have I missed out by thinking like that? Because they're not my setup. So depending on what your setup is, what your plan is, I think a lot of these charts we just looked at are probably all going to echo KNC, algo, stuff like that. So it might be a case where I pick up a couple small positions over the weekend and just ride out a 10% or 20%, but I'm not going to go ham at breakout levels here. And maybe in 2 weeks I'll watch the stream and be like, why didn't you go ham? They all broke out and then, we never came back. But I don't know. Following the plan. I'm going to reset everything on Monday. Flip back to studio real quick. If you guys enjoyed the stream today, of course, you can let me know by liking the video. A couple of subs would be appreciated. If you haven't subbed yet, personally, I never subbed to channels until I started producing on one, and I was like, oh, this is important. So if you have an account and you can sign in so you can sub, that's great. Either way, have a wonderful weekend, guys. Try to enjoy one part of your life that perhaps you've been taking for granted. I think that's probably one of the best things you can do for yourself, mental health-wise. And we've all got something, and we're probably all neglecting something in our lives because of crypto. So get out there, soak it in, see you back here next week, possibly on Monday. Depends how the weekend goes, but definitely on Wednesday for DeltaFi and Friday for Hero Labs Live. Guys, have a wonderful weekend, and always play from possession of strength. Take care.